for the most interactive radio program in Las Vegas today. It's time for Pushing the Limits with Brian Shapiro. Brian will talk sports, politics, entertainment, and anything that matters to you. Feel free to call Brian at 702-221-7283.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
Now, Pushing the Limits, here's Brian Shapiro.
What's up, everybody? I hope everyone had a fantastic weekend. I know I did. Thank you so much for joining us. And I'm very appreciative of this ever so fast growing show. It's really awesome, and I'm very humbled by it as we get calls from all over the country on a daily basis, except for the weekends. We're not here on the weekends. Brian needs a little bit of time off once in a while. Why am I talking in third person? I don't know. But welcome to the show, everybody. You could be watching on the Occupy Democrats Network. You could be watching on the Washington Press Network. We're on YouTube. We're on X. We're on Twitch. Nobody has the listenership we have here. Yes, I'm going to pat myself on the back on that one. And we appreciate you being a part of the show. Please check out my website, pushingthelimits.live. Again, that's pushingthelimits.live. And we got a lot to get into today. We're going to talk about this Supreme Court decision on immunity when it comes to Donald Trump and now any president. It is so absurd. It is so ridiculous. I'm going to break it down for you. It is crazy. I am also going to sit here and tell you that sometimes I'm wrong. And unlike all these conservative idiots that do radio shows, I'm not always right. Maybe my opinions on Friday were wrong. Maybe I got a little ahead of myself. And maybe perhaps I overreacted to what I saw on that debate stage on Thursday night. Yeah, even Joe Biden, people are saying it wasn't a good night for him. Does he need to be replaced? Well, my opinions on that might differ from some, but I don't think he needs to be replaced. I still think he can beat Donald Trump, and I didn't feel that way, and maybe I reacted with more emotion, and I take responsibility for that. But, you know, there's a lot of people that are saying he should step down, and I'm not gonna go there now. I'm not going to go there. We're going to have to wait and see what Joe Biden wants, because in the end, this is up to Joe Biden, and we'll have to see. And I'll talk a little bit about that a little bit later on the program as well. We're going to have a Republican political operative. No, not Steve Bannon. He's in jail right now. Danbury, Connecticut. Republican strategist and CEO of Revere Solutions, Woodrow Johnston, is going to be joining us at the bottom of the hour. Now, he disagrees with me on just about everything. He thinks Joe Biden should step down, and he's a mess, and that debate was a joke. We're going to talk about that coming up here in just a little bit. Chris Wynn joining us for hour number 2. So let's talk about the Supreme Court ruling first, shall we? The Supreme Court ruling today that Donald Trump may claim immunity from criminal prosecution for some of the actions he took as president, in a decision that will likely further the delay in a trial on the federal election subversion charges against him. That's exactly why they did this. Let's keep that in mind. This is Donald Trump's Supreme Court justice. It's the reason why they overturned Roe versus Wade. It's the reason why those you-know-what crazy Supreme Court justices in Arizona wanted to have no exceptions for abortion, or what happened in Alabama. This is on Donald Trump, and this is also on Donald Trump. Can't you guys see he's ruining this country? Can't you see it before your eyes? What more do you want to see? This would have made Hitler Germany and what the Nazis did legal, or having immunity from the Holocaust. Go back to it in the early 1940s. Go ahead and go back to it. That's how crazy this is. It rejects a decision today from a federal appeals court in February that found Trump enjoyed no immunity for alleged crimes he committed during his presidency to reverse the 2020 election results. Today's decision says presidents have immunity for official acts, but not all the acts are official, and lower courts must decide which acts qualify for each. Trump called the decision a big win. Well, yeah, it's a big win for him because he's a criminal. That's why it's a big win for him. Let's just get Joe Biden to nuke all of Donald Trump's golf courses. He's got immunity. I mean, I know that sounds crazy. This decision is crazy. You know, the former president, of course, is juggling 4 criminal cases. That's why this happened. He only cares about himself. You think he cares about all the other presidents? No, of course not. He only cares about himself. Mark my words, this is going to haunt this country for decades and decades and decades and decades down the road, when Joe Biden and Donald Trump are not on this earth anymore, when we're not on this earth anymore. This is going to haunt this country. You should never be above the law. Nobody should ever be above the law. If a president, former or current, breaks the law, they should be held to account. What the Supreme Court is saying in layman's terms is, we're going to treat you differently than everybody else when it comes to the law. Absurd, ridiculous. Make no mistake about it, this doesn't happen if not for Donald Trump and his criminal behavior and his criminal activity. That's why this happened. This would have never happened if we had another Republican that was president. Only Donald Trump. It is ridiculous. And you go back to the German chancellor, as I mentioned, the Holocaust, dating back to 1942. And my good friend Ron Filipowski made such a great point about this, and I looked it up. The final solution, which culminated in the Holocaust, Ron says, and he's correct, would be considered an official act, and they would have gotten immunity from criminal prosecution on the executive. 7 million plus Jews were murdered, and there would have been immunity. This isn't fun and games here. We're not playing games here. Do we realize how serious this is? Why? Because of the orange turd Cheeto Jesus himself. That's why. It's ridiculous. We cannot let this guy get back into the White House. It can't happen. And I've been thinking a lot over the weekend. Yes, I've been doing some thinking. And I might have overreacted. Joe Biden had a poor debate. We know that. He knows that. Everybody knows it. However, debates don't always or usually don't have any bearing on who you're voting for. Usually. And I got to tell you, I watched this interview live on CNN over the weekend, and this guy, Alan Lichtman, I don't know if you've ever heard of him, professor of history at American University. And he's live on CNN, and he kind of changed my mind a little bit, and he kind of put my mind at ease a little bit. And listen to what he said when talking about the impact of a debate.
All of these pundits and pollsters and analysts that you see on all the cable channels and all the networks have no track record in predicting elections. And yet they come on and they claim they know how this debate is going to affect the outcome of elections. They have no idea. It's sports talk radio. It may be entertaining, but it has no scientific basis.
So what is the impact, you think?
Zero.
All right. I don't know if it's zero. I'm not a professor and a historian. I don't know if it's zero. And the reason why I say I'm not sure is because there are some people that are on the fence. There are some people, and when I say on the fence, meaning they're not going to vote for Donald Trump, but they haven't said yet as Republicans if they're going to be voting for Joe Biden. And I can't imagine that debate performance or lack thereof on Thursday helped. So I'm not going to sit here and I'm going to agree with the professor and say it's 0%. But I will say that I overreacted, and I think a lot of people overreacted. It was a bad day for Joe Biden. Doesn't mean I'm not voting for Joe Biden. It was a bad day. Donald Trump didn't have a good debate. I mean, he lied about everything. Couldn't answer a straightforward policy question, but I do believe, beyond the shadow of a doubt, at least in my heart, I believe that Joe Biden's, they're not going to have him step aside. I could be wrong on that. Now, why does Alan Lichtman feel the way he feels? Why does he feel that there is no impact on the presidential election in any of these debates? Here he explains.
Debates are not predictive of outcomes. Hillary Clinton won all 3 debates, still lost. John Kerry won all the debates, still lost. Barack Obama got trounced, 72 to 20% in the poll, worse than Biden, and went on to win. That's why we rely on the 13 keys which tap into the structure of how elections really work. And they show that Democrats' really only chance to win, contrary to everything you've heard, is with Biden running.
Now, a couple things there. I think some of the naysayers out there would say, well, wait a second, this is a different circumstance. Joe Biden's really old. Joe Biden looks like he has some cognitive difficulties. Joe Biden is feeble. Professor, this is a very different circumstance than many of these other debates. You can't compare it to when Obama got wiped the floor clean or when Hillary Clinton defeated Donald Trump for the most part in every one of those 3 debates. So here is Professor Lichtman responding to those people talking about his age.
The problem right now is that the Democratic Party is considering replacing Biden mostly because it's unclear whether or not he actually physically can carry out the rest of this campaign and put up a fight against his opponent. So that seems like a fundamentally different thing than some of the items that you have in your rubric.
It's a huge mistake. They're not doctors. They don't know whether Biden is physically capable of carrying out a second term or not. Remember, a lot of folks were saying the same thing about Ronald Reagan, who was, 73, and age was very different then. And they said, he's not capable of carrying out another term. He won 49 states. So this is all foolhardy nonsense.
I mean, he does make a really good point there. I'm not a doctor. Many of you are not doctors. I'm not going to sit here like some of these right-wing buffoons do and say that he has Alzheimer's. I'm not going to sit here and say that, oh, my God, his health is deteriorating. He's not going to make it. He's going to fall over. No, he had a bad debate. Now, I wish there would be another debate. I don't think Donald Trump will agree to that. But if there is another debate, there's supposed to be a second debate, I think Joe Biden will do much better. What really frustrates me, there's a lot of things that frustrate me these days. Blowhard Bill O'Reilly, as I like to call him, the sexual harasser. How many women did Fox News have to pay off for that scumbag? Yes, Bill O'Reilly's a scumbag. Just a bad guy who apparently struggles to get laid, too. Not shocking to hear that. So Bill O'Reilly goes on social media, and he puts out this video on BillO'Reilly.com. And he says, here's an update on Joe Biden. The decision has been made that the president will quit the campaign. 2 reasons. Democrat internal polling says he cannot recover from the debate, and fundraising is drying up. First of all, fundraising is not drying up. He's lying. That's number one. Number two, the decision has not been made. And Bill O'Reilly doesn't have any contacts within the Joe Biden administration or anybody that was at Camp David with the Biden family that would lead anybody to believe that the decision has been made. Absolutely and positively not true. Bill O'Reilly's a liar. He's trying to get clicks. He's trying to get people, oh, wow, Bill O'Reilly's got the inside scoop. No, he doesn't. The only inside scoop that Bill O'Reilly has is what could get a woman, in bed with him. And I guess that scoop didn't really work very well for him, so he decided to sexually harass these women. Bill O'Reilly has no scoop, but we got the scoop on him, you sexual harassing bastard, you. He's a liar. Now, if you ask me right now and you say, hey, Brian, do you think that Joe Biden should be replaced? I've given you, and I stand by this opinion, while I will be the first one to admit that I believe I overreacted on Friday to the debate, and I'll be the first one to admit that as I've thought a little bit more about it, I still believe that Joe Biden could defeat Donald Trump. I think it's going to be tough, and they got to do a better job in the campaign trail. I still think Joe Biden could defeat him. I still think these 3 names would have a better chance. And I know there's going to be a lot of people out there that are going to disagree with me on this. I talked about it on Friday. I'm going to talk about it again today. And I'm going to give you 3 names. The first name I'm about to give you is probably somebody that is not interested in being anywhere near the White House from what I understand. She would win in a landslide victory, Michelle Obama. Donald Trump would have absolutely and positively, literally, no chance to defeat Michelle Obama. She's extremely intelligent. She's articulate. She's educated. She knows what it takes to be president. She was in the White House as the first lady. She would absolutely destroy Donald Trump. And that would be my first pick. If you had to say, give me one person, the problem is I don't think she wants to be president, and I don't think she wants to be anywhere near the White House. I wish I was wrong on that. I wish she announced today that she was running. I would breathe a sigh of relief that Donald Trump is never going to get anywhere near the White House. It's not going to happen. Can you imagine Michelle Obama on a debate stage with Donald Trump? She would absolutely destroy him. That would be my number 1 pick. But again, I don't think it's going to happen. My number 2 pick, believe it or not, even though it's somebody that I didn't vote for, who I would absolutely vote for now, is Hillary Clinton. If Hillary Clinton, and I do believe she would want to get back into this race and for presidency, and I think she would absolutely want to defeat Donald Trump in a rematch of sorts. I believe if Joe Biden agreed to step aside, now this would not make Kamala Harris happy. And that's another issue that the Democrats have to deal with. If you allow Hillary Clinton to run for president, would Kamala even still want to be her vice president? I don't know. I don't think Kamala Harris would have a chance to defeat Donald Trump. And I'm going by the polls. It's not that I don't have respect for our vice president. I do. She's a very educated, she's a very smart woman. You look at all the polls out there, she's not extremely well-liked. She's not very good with the media. So that's another issue that Democrats have to deal with. But yes, I do think Hillary would have a really good chance to defeat Donald Trump if, in fact, they made that decision, which I'm not, unlike Bill O'Reilly, I don't know. I don't know if they're going to make the decision. And then my third choice, someone that I still believe would have a decent opportunity to defeat Donald Trump, is Gavin Newsom. Very articulate, very intelligent. The problem that Gavin has going for him is there are a lot of issues in California. That's why he's my third pick. I put Hillary Clinton and Michelle Obama ahead of Gavin Newsom, but I still would like to believe that I think Gavin Newsom might have a better chance to defeat Donald Trump than Joe Biden. And if you believe everything that this professor says, and I think he made a lot of very valid points, debates are not everything. People have bad debates. Barack Obama had some bad debates. Donald Trump had some terrible debates against Hillary Clinton, but he still won. So it is possible to come back from a bad debate. I wouldn't agree with the professor that it means zero. I think it means a little bit more than that. But let's be honest here. Just about every Democrat out there will be voting for Joe Biden. That's more than half the country. Not many Democrats that I've spoken to that say that they're going to vote for Donald Trump. Most MAGA Republicans are going to be voting for Donald Trump. But then you get into the gray area, independents and moderate Republicans. There's a lot of moderate Republicans that I've talked to, plenty of them actually, that have said publicly that they will not be supporting Donald Trump. And it could be those that have worked in Donald Trump's administration. It could be those that used to be staunch Donald Trump supporters, but yet they're not willing to say they're going to vote for Joe Biden. And that's where I believe the debate hurt Joe Biden. Moderate Republicans and maybe some independents. I think most people would agree that we've made our decision already, regardless of what happened in the debate on Thursday and regardless of what might happen in an upcoming debate if that indeed does happen. That's who we're talking about here. I agree with the professor. Listen, when it comes to most people that are still undecided, most people that have already decided, most people, Democrats and Republicans, yeah, it has zero effect. But you know, when we're talking about those moderate Republicans and independents, I really, truly believe that the debate does matter. Does it mean that Joe Biden can't bounce back from it? No, I've never said that. But he, wasn't a good night. And some people got upset at me for speaking truth. Barack Obama admitted it wasn't a good night. Joe Biden admitted it wasn't a good night. The vice president admitted it wasn't a good night. Many Joe Biden supporters have admitted, yeah, it wasn't a good night for Joe. But their argument, which I understand, don't judge Joe Biden on 90 minutes, judge him on the last 3.5 years. And that's a very valid point, but we want to make sure, when I say we, the American people want to make sure that he's still up for the job for another 4 years. And I don't think Thursday helped any. That's all I'm saying. Doesn't mean he can't bounce back from it. Doesn't mean if they do another debate, he can't, rock Donald Trump, because I still believe he can. I think it was a number of factors. And again, I'm not trying to make excuses for Joe Biden. He even admitted it. He's not the same guy he was 5-10 years ago. He's not as sharp. He's not as good of a debater. But when you're dealing with a man in his early 80s who's getting old, right? Let's call it for what it is. Dealing with a stuttering problem, but I don't think this was anything to do with stuttering. Dealing with a guy who wasn't feeling good. I mean, just listen to his voice. He had a cold. When you're not feeling good and you're in your early 80s, that doesn't help any. So I think it was a mixture of that. And he had a bad night, period. But let's not try to overreact, and let's not try to make something of this that it is not. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, I know we're going to have somebody on the line that is certainly going to disagree with me. His name is Woodrow Johnston. He's a Republican strategist, represents a lot of MAGA Republicans in his company, Revere Solutions. He believes this was catastrophic for Joe Biden and that there's no turning back. Now, obviously, I disagree with that, so we're going to have a good debate when we come back. Hour number 2, we're going to be taking some phone calls, but we'll take a quick break. Woodrow will be joining us right after the break. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Who would have thought there'd be so many kids playing ice hockey in the desert? Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, founded by Gina Yusufzai 8 years ago, made it possible for families who can't afford the equipment and fees. Donate today at www.hockeyforkids.org and help us continue making a difference. Join us in supporting Jake Helps Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, where every kid gets a shot at the starting line. Just a reminder, our website is www.hockeyforkids.org.
Have you ever dreamed of having your own radio show or a podcast, but just didn't think it was possible? Well, dreams can come true. Radio U. Radio U is a 5-day course that'll teach you how to acquire your dream show. We'll teach you how to host, how to write commercial, how to interview, how to market, how to write a contract, and most importantly, how to monetize your dream radio show. You'll learn from some of the best in the business with over 75 years in broadcast experience. You'll learn from people like me. And the best part? Every single student will be live on the radio as part of the class. Plus, one student from each class will get their very own radio show. You'll be live on the air right here in Las Vegas. Radio U. The 5-day course is being offered at $699. For more information, give Radio U a call. 702-763-5024. That's 702-763-5024. Or check them out at RadioYOU101.com.
Tired of the same old date night? Craving a deeper connection with your partner? O-Box is your escape into a world of romance and passion. Each month, discover a box filled with personalized surprises, exciting activities, and a love story written just for the two of you. Ignite desire, share laughter, and make memories that last a lifetime. Your O-Box journey culminates into a beautiful love novel. Ready to write the first thrilling chapter? Let the O-Box adventure begin. Visit our website, obox.com. That's OBOXXX.com and get started.
Hey everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super hero, that is, because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Forget about it.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Monday. Thank you so much for joining us. A little programming note for you. I'm actually pretty excited for this one. The very beautiful and talented Shannon Elizabeth is going to be joining us in studio tomorrow. Man, I know Numchuck is excited for that probably as much as I am. American Pie fame, Nadia. Yeah, she's going to be joining us in studio tomorrow. She's got a big charity poker event that I was invited to, and we're really happy she's going to be coming in. And she does so many wonderful things for charity. She's a wonderful woman. She helps so many people. She helps animals, saving animals' lives, and human beings as well. And she's awesome. So Shannon Elizabeth joining us in studio tomorrow. All right, without further ado, we've been talking about the debate. I've been talking about how maybe I overreacted a little bit on Friday. I can tell you right now, the guy joining us right now probably agrees with some of the stuff I said on Friday. We'll find out. His name is Woodrow Johnston. He is a Republican strategist and the CEO of Revere Solutions, who joins us right now. Woodrow, thank you for being here, my friend. How are you?
Pretty good, Brian. Thanks for having me on. And I'm sorry, I'm not quite as good looking as Shannon Elizabeth.
We concur. We concur on that. I think most people would, but that's okay. I'm still happy to have you on. Woodrow, before I talk about the debate with you, I want to ask you about the Supreme Court decision, which I think is quite frankly dangerous. And absurd as far as former President Trump getting immunity. What are your thoughts on this decision?
Are you talking about the Chevron decision, or are you talking about the immunity?
Immunity.
Well, I think, okay, I thought you were talking about the Chevron case, and I was ready to talk about that for a second. No, I mean, look, my understanding is that it does give him immunity on the things he did when he was in office, which, sovereign immunity, which, whether you agree with it or not, has been a long-standing constitutional tradition. So I don't know if it really does anything other than confirm what we've already known.
Well, a couple things that I would say to that. First of all, we know that this Jack Smith case now ain't going to happen before the elections. That's exactly what Donald Trump wanted. That's number one. And when you look at the language, and I've spoken to a few lawmakers about this that are non-biased politically, and they told me if you look at the language in this specific decision, and if we go back to 1942 in the Holocaust, it would have actually been considered an official act based on the language that the Supreme Court presented today, and it would have given these people immunity that were responsible for the Holocaust. And I just think years down the road, when Joe Biden's no longer here, when Donald Trump is no longer here, you and I no longer here, this is going to pay horrible dividends to the country in the language that the Supreme Court put forward in this decision. I mean, what do you have to say to that?
Well, you brought up a good point, Brian. I mean, we can get into an argument about sovereign immunity. It's something that it's honestly existed to the end of time. I personally don't agree with the concept. I think people should be responsible for their own actions. And that's really all I have to say about it.
I understand. But my last question on this, and I agree with what you just said, people should be held responsible for their actions, whether you're a president, a former president, you, me. Is it fair to say that, if Donald Trump wasn't president of the United States, this would have never happened on the Supreme Court, and it happened because of Donald Trump? Can we agree on that?
I'm not sure. And honestly, Brian, that case just came out today, and I haven't done as much research as I'd like.
All right, fair enough. So what were your thoughts on the debate Thursday night? What did you see? What first came to your mind? What were your thoughts? And now that we've had a few days to process it, what are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, you yourself kind of, you're characterizing it as overreacting. I mean, I've gotten email. I'm on all the Democrats' email lists, and I just got this really long email from the Democratic Party about 7 things you can say to your friends and family about the debate. And it was probably the longest political email I've ever received ever. And what I thought was interesting was one of the points they made was, well, Joe Biden's a nominee, so deal with it. And another point they made was, well, Biden's our best chance against Trump. That was what they said in the email. But then, and they actually show you polling in that email. But what they neglected to put was who I think is probably the only person on the planet that could beat Donald Trump. I know you don't agree, but probably the only person on the planet that I believe could beat Donald Trump is Michelle Obama.
As I said, there are 3 names that come to mind for me, and you could tell me whether you disagree. That was number 1 on my list. Mm-hmm. It's a landslide victory. It's not even an afterthought for me. Donald Trump would have, and quite frankly, I don't think any Republican would have a chance to beat her, especially Donald Trump. So I agree with you. The problem with that is I don't think Michelle Obama wants to run. The 2 other names, and I put 3 of them in there. The other one is Hillary Clinton. I think Hillary Clinton would probably want a rematch. She made a lot of mistakes when she campaigned in 2016. I think this go around, she would probably win. And then my third choice would be Gavin Newsom. In my personal opinion, I know there's a lot of Democrats that probably disagree with me. Those 3 names would have a better chance, arguably, to defeat Donald Trump in November than Joe Biden. But I believe Joe Biden still has a decent chance to defeat Donald Trump. And Woodrow, I say that this way. MAGA Republicans are going to be voting for Donald Trump no matter what happened on Thursday. For the most part, Democrats are going to be voting for Joe Biden no matter what happened on Thursday. Who are we talking about? We're talking about moderate Republicans, many of whom have come out that I've spoken to and said, I'm not voting for Donald Trump, but they're not yet willing to say they're voting for Joe Biden. I think the debate could affect them and maybe some independents. But other than that, I think most people have made their decision. Do you disagree with that?
Let's just start off with the fact that Trump was leading in the polls going into this debate. So he was already on a pathway to winning this election, frankly. I would say that this debate might have shifted the whole map. I mean, we're seeing polls that he's competitive in New Jersey, Minnesota, New Mexico, Virginia. Even New York was, I think within 6-7 points, something like that. And so I think that the problem, Brian, is you are using personalities as your sample, and you're a political personality yourself. And I think you're using people like, Meghan McCain or whoever, moderate Republican figurehead as like a representative sample. And that's just not the case. And I think there's a lot of people in between that who aren't never Trumpers, maybe aren't super thrilled about Trump, but saw that debate and went, well, and they might even agree with you and I don't agree with this, but they might even agree with you and say, Trump might be a con man or whatever, but at least he can form a sentence, and whether you agree with that statement or not, I think that when it comes to who has who has access to, the command and control of our national security, I think they're starting to go towards Trump.
But I would say, what good is it to form a sentence when almost every word out of your mouth is a lie? The lies have all been fact checked. He lied pretty much about anything from, capping insulin costs to immigration to war to terrorism. He was fact checked on almost everything. And I'm not going to sit here and say every word that Joe Biden said was factually accurate as well. But come on, it was like 10-1. He didn't directly answer any policy questions. Even when he was asked about January 6th, he didn't really answer the question at all. And then he started to talk about immigration. Then he started to talk about Afghanistan, when we know, based on those that worked in Donald Trump's administration, the withdrawal in Afghanistan was virtually identical to what Joe Biden did. Yes, Joe Biden.
Brian, there's a difference between someone making a strategic decision to answer the question you want to answer. Look, I work in politics. Politicians do it all the time. And then someone who gets asked a question on abortion, the issue that Democrats poll probably the best on right now, and then all of a sudden talking about immigration and Medicare. I mean, you saw the same debate I did.
Right. But Joe Biden, I didn't like the way he answered that question. And you're right. This is a very important topic for all women in this country, particularly politically when it comes to Democrats. But the problem I have there is that the reason why Roe versus Wade was overturned is because of Donald Trump. I didn't necessarily like the way that Joe Biden answered it. He had a bad night. But, the bottom line is there's a man that's standing there that's a 34 count felon. There's a man that's standing there that's a liable sexual abuser. There's a man that's standing there that literally lies. Now, I understand as a political strategist, I understand that there's some questions that you would advise you don't want your clients to answer. This was a very, very important question about democracy and about what took place on January 6th. Why? Because Donald Trump still says the election was stolen, which is a lie. And he completely pivoted, completely talked about something else. I find that to be cowardly. He's asked about January 6th, and then he wants to talk about the economy and inflation and immigration. When I watched that, I say to myself, why don't you answer the question? If he just answered the question, then at least I'd have a little bit of respect for him. But completely dodging a question, to me, I think there are too many Americans out there that find that cowardly. That's just my personal opinion.
Maybe, but look, Biden lied on stage too. Biden's, and like one of the lies that they called Trump out on was, Biden didn't call black people super predators. Yeah, Hillary Clinton said that, right? One of the other people you mentioned. He said predators though during the committee hearing to support that crime bill. So I think that politicians lie, and start. It's a sad state of, that's just the truth of it. I think that there's so much being thrown at Trump that is completely, I don't think, even legitimate criticism. That even when you
give me an example, I want to hear from you, Woodrow. Give me an example of some criticism that either I've given out or something you've heard that you think is unfair.
My favorite one is the he got 2 ice cream scoops while everyone got 1. That was my favorite one. That's the one that comes to mind immediately.
But that's not, give me something important, right? An unwarranted criticism of Donald Trump that you think where the media is being completely unfair, or even people like me are being completely unfair of Donald Trump. And let's have a discussion about that.
Absolutely. Okay. Probably the best example, and it was brought up during the debate, was that he said that there were good people on both sides, and therefore he was saying that Nazis are good people. That was what was said. And it constantly, and Joe Biden brought it up during the debate, and they never play the whole clip where he actually did condemn the white supremacists in the Nazis in literally the same sentence, but they just cut out that part. And I just find that, and I don't know if you've ever made that criticism. I'm sorry.
Well, here's the thing. Here's what I would say to that. While he didn't directly say Nazis are good people, at a minimum, even if that's not what he meant, he has a history, Woodrow. He was on a debate stage and he failed to condemn the Proud Boys, an organization that has been labeled as a hate group, and on a national stage, instead of doing what any decent human being would do and condemning that hate group, he said, stand back and stand by. At a minimum, a very stupid thing that he said, good people on both sides. Even if That's not what he meant when talking about the people with the tiki torches and all that stuff. But would I have mentioned that? No, I would have hammered home the fact that he said stand back and stand by to the Proud Boy members. I would have hit home that he said he didn't respect John McCain, as we played that on the air, don't respect people who were captured as POWs, and other things that are blatantly disgusting. So while we could have a discussion about, well, that's probably not what he meant, he did condemn white supremacists a couple sentences later or a couple sentences before, the man has a history and lied about David Duke. We've seen plenty of interviews he did in the 80s where he knew exactly who David Duke was. And then all of a sudden, when he runs for president, he's the guy with the Alzheimer's. Oh, I really don't know who David Duke is. He knows exactly who David Duke is. And the leader of the Klan is a big Donald Trump supporter. So while I understand where you're coming from and say, well, that's probably not necessarily what he meant, and the media didn't play the whole clip, the man has a history. And then he goes into this barbershop, or he doesn't go into it, but he calls into this barbershop, and it was supposed to be a bunch of black people talking about issues facing race in the community. And the owner has come out now and said that was not supposed to be a campaign event. They didn't tell me that was going to happen. And the Donald Trump campaign used that as an opportunity for Donald Trump to be making these wild and crazy claims that because he had a mugshot, somehow he's getting more support from the black community. Point being, he has a history, Woodrow.
Well, I'll finish the original point I was making, Brian. Whatever legitimate criticism that may exist on Trump, because of this bed of nails that exists out there, when you're throwing all this stuff, and a lot of it, I think, still, because first, the fact of the matter is Donald Trump has condemned white supremacy, and he has condemned white nationalists many, many times.
Then why would you say stand back and stand by? Why would you make that statement? Why wouldn't you condemn a hate group with a bunch of white supremacists in the group that has been labeled a hate group from several organizations, including the Southern Law Poverty Center and others? Why would you say stand back and stand by? Why would you be so shady on that issue? Just say I condemn them. I don't understand that, Woodrow. Help me understand that. I don't get it.
I mean, he has. I don't know what to tell you, Brian. He has condemned them. So, look, let's move on to your next question, Brian.
Yep. Well, give me another example. I want you to give me another example, because maybe we disagree on that example, because I think this is important. I hear this a lot from people on the right. Donald Trump is attacked 24/7 by the liberal media, and it's unfair. And I always hear he's the victim, he's the victim, he's the victim. We can agree to disagree on that point, on the good people on both sides comment. I understand where you're coming from. Hopefully you understand where I'm coming from.
Brian, just play that whole clip. I mean, if you play that whole clip, he literally...
I have. All I'm saying is that there's a history with Donald Trump. That's all. I gave you multiple examples. There's a history of him lying about David Duke, not condemning the Proud Boys, and claiming that he's getting more of the black vote because of his mugshot. I mean, Woodrow, can we agree? This is what you do for a living, right? You give your clients advice, how to win elections. Do you think that's a smart approach? Well, take a look at my mugshot, and I think that's why I'm getting so much more black support. Do you realize? I don't think Trump does. Do you realize how offensive that is to black people when you make a statement like that? And he's done it multiple times.
Well, I mean, here's what I'll say. It's not something I would advise someone running for Congress or for Senate or anything like that.
Of course not.
A lot of the rules don't apply to Trump. I mean, that's, and they just
apparently laws, but we can maybe get into that at another time. But of course you wouldn't give your clients that kind of advice. Of course you wouldn't. So Woodrow, what do you think is going to happen here? Do you think here, and I'm just asking you your opinion. Obviously, we don't know for sure whether Biden's going to be replaced. What I don't like are people on the right-wing media or Bill O'Reilly's of the world saying he's made the decision. Nobody knows that, right? The only person that knows that maybe is Joe Biden and maybe immediate members of his family. But, you do this for a living. So what is your inclination? What do you think is going to happen here?
Yeah. And I appreciate you. I don't know. And I don't think Bill O'Reilly knows. And frankly, Bill O'Reilly, I mean, I remember watching him when I was a teenager. So I didn't even know he was still doing things. Right. So, in fact, I think I heard about Dan Bongino beefing with him, and I was just like,
I saw that. I saw that. That was kind of I don't think Bill O'Reilly's the most credible person on the planet. Let's put it that way. But what do you think is going to happen if you had to guess?
I mean, here, even according to the Democrats' internals that they published, no one, except they don't put Michelle Obama on that because I think they are concerned that it might happen, can beat Trump. And so my guess is I don't think Biden will be replaced. But I also, because I think there would be just a little bit of outrage over, hey, we had our primaries, we voted for Biden, Biden's our guy. And I think if there is a replacement of someone who's, I would say equal or less popular than Biden, there'd be a little bit of backlash. The only person who I think could survive that backlash pretty easily, someone like Michelle Obama. You've said yourself, every political strategist that I talk to on the right and the left, every political personality, everyone who kind of tracks this, they have, and even just people on the street, they tell me, well, Michelle would be great, but she doesn't want to do it. She doesn't want to do it. And that's the perception that most Americans have. And I think the person who at least appears to not want to do it is part of the reason why Michelle's a strong candidate in this race.
Let's talk about the vice president, because I feel like, and this is just my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, I don't think Kamala Harris would defeat Donald Trump. I've been very clear in those opinions, and most of the polls show that. But if you put someone in there, maybe not Michelle Obama, maybe she wouldn't be upset at that, but maybe you put Hillary ahead of her, or even a Gavin Newsom, I would think our vice president would not be very happy about that. And I think that's another issue that Democrats are facing. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree. And, look, this is all rumors, but I think she's, from what I'm hearing, that she's pretty upset that she's not really in the conversation for that.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's a reason for that. She's not polling well. And, I'm not going to sit here. There are local conservative, if you want to call them, radio hosts in Las Vegas that have called her horrible names. And I'm not talking about Orange Man or Cheeto Jesus. I'm basically people calling her a whore, saying that she got to where she is because she was on her back. Those are obviously very disgusting comments. And for any host to make a comment like that, in my opinion, they should be fired. But I have a lot of respect for her from an educational standpoint. I think she's a very intelligent woman. She's not great with the media. And I think an example of that was maybe the interview that Anderson Cooper did with her moments after the debate. I just didn't like it.
I thought you were talking about the Drew Barrymore interview.
I didn't see that, actually. I'll have to watch that. I really didn't see that. So what Democrats are saying, and you tell me whether you think this is a good strategy or not, because I have mixed feelings on this. When they ask about Joe Biden's performance on Thursday, they say, well, he shouldn't be judged on 90 minutes. He should be judged on the last 3.5 years. Now, that sounds good, but what are your thoughts on that? Because a lot of Democrats and those that are in the Biden campaign are saying that. What are your thoughts on that?
My thoughts are that's what I would say if I was working for Joe Biden, to kind of stave off the bleeding. But yeah, they're in a weak position. I mean, that's, and they're in kind of, it's, probably the best historical metaphor I can think of is back in, you remember who was the guy who was the governor of Virginia? He was a Democrat. He was caught in blackface. And
yeah.
Northam, right, I think.
Yep.
And it was kind of funny. You started seeing the comms team for the governor, of course, they never have their fingerprints, but you always know where it comes from, starting to put out stuff about the lieutenant governor. Actually, the lieutenant governor has racist problems too. Oh, and also the attorney general has problems. I guess we're stuck with Ralph as our governor. And I think, and I think we've already seen that to some extent. You're going to start seeing the kind of stuff about, hey, Kamala Harris isn't great. Oh, there's issues with Kamala Harris. You're going to start seeing about, if we haven't started seeing them already, about her issues when she was district attorney in San Francisco, her issues when she was attorney general, the evidence mismanagement, all things like that. Yeah. And I think if I'm the Biden team, I'm going to do whatever I can to make Kamala Harris seem less appealing. So that way my guy stays in there.
Yeah. Obviously, by the way, if you're just joining us, he's Woodrow Johnston, a Republican strategist and CEO of Revere Solutions. So Woodrow, obviously a big decision, I think it's fair to say, that Donald Trump is going to make is who's going to be his vice president. I've said since day one that I always thought that it would be J.D. Vance. I think he's still the favorite, but you hear a lot of other names out there, the Marco Rubios, the Ben Carsons, Stefanik is another name that comes out. Who do you think he's going to pick? Do you agree with me that those are kind of the favorites right now?
Yeah, I would say that those names you mentioned are all on the short list. I don't know the answer. I suspect only Trump does, and he might not even know because he might have changed his mind. So I would, there's a few other names I'd add to that list. I think you didn't mention Burgum. I think Burgum, is I would say a safe choice. I would, but there's also, Tim Scott. I would, put it. I know he's mentioned, he's been going back and forth off the list. And then I would say, a name that you still hear sometimes, but not as much, but I'm still going to say still in contention, probably someone like Glenn Youngkin, who I think does really well with kind of Trump's weak spots, but also I don't think, pisses off the base, so to speak. So I think Glenn Youngkin would be a pretty good pick as well.
I mean, we have heard Vivek Ramaswamy come up again in some conversations. I don't know if he's considering him. As far as Burgum goes, you're right. It's a safe pick, but it is just my opinion, and I'm just being honest. I think it's a boring pick. I think he's very dry and boring. Maybe that's what Donald Trump wants. He doesn't want somebody that's going to overshadow him, and maybe Vivek could be that guy that would overshadow him. I don't know. Byron Donalds, I guess, is another name as well. I think Tim Scott would be a very poor pick. And I don't want. What's that?
Why do you think Tim Scott would be a poor pick?
Well, because I think he's an absolute phony. He's the biggest Trump ass kisser you can find. He's changed his positions on a number of different issues so many times over the years. I don't think it would be a good pick for Donald Trump. And I can tell you right now, I don't think a lot of conservatives would like the pick as well. At least some people that I've talked to, the names I hear again that they want, and these are just people that I talk to, are the J.D. Vances of the world. And I actually think Ben Carson would probably be a bet because he's more loyal than any of them. I mean, Ben Carson's been more loyal to Donald Trump than probably almost any of those names. Stefanik has said some disparaging things about Donald Trump in the past. And of course, since he became the president, the past president, she changed her tune. Same thing with J.D. Vance. He said some disparaging things about Trump in the past. Marco Rubio has said some disparaging things about Donald Trump in the past. Democrats will use that against them if Donald Trump does make that pick. It's got to be somebody that hasn't said anything negative about Donald Trump. Now, Tim Scott is that guy, but I just think he's extremely two-faced. And I think somebody, at least you're right, in my eyes, that hasn't really said anything disparaging about Donald Trump would be Burgum. And you're probably right. That would probably be the safest pick. I don't
believe Youngkin has either.
What's up?
I don't believe Youngkin has either. I mean, he's
probably not. Yeah. I wouldn't say Glenn Youngkin is pro all in MAGA either, though. Would you?
I would say that's a fair characterization, but I would say that a VP pick should be about addition and not subtraction. Mm-hmm. And I don't think there's anyone all the MAGA people are voting for Trump. Mm-hmm. I don't, and I'm sure they all would love a more MAGA VP. I mean, and sure, maybe I would as well, but at the end of the day, it's about expanding. And I think that, Burgum, safe choice, doesn't really, when you're already winning, and maybe that's the perception that the campaign has, let's pick a safe choice and go with Burgum. Fine. But I think if it were up to me, I would consider someone like Glenn Youngkin.
Fair enough. A couple more quick questions for you. Let's talk a little bit about policy. Obviously, I'm somebody that leans to the left on a lot of social issues. I'm for capital punishment. I'm for border security, but I lean to the left on a lot of social issues. My biggest criticism of the Republican Party today, besides the fact that they've let Donald Trump just take over the party, is that they fail to talk a lot about policy. I hear them talking a lot about transgenders and canceling and burning books. I hear them talking a lot about gay marriage, about how it's a sin. I hear them talking a lot about abortion and how it's murder. I don't hear them talking about actual, real policy or things that will make us safer other than more guns make us safer, which is also absurd and proven to be wrong. That's my biggest criticism of Republicans today. They don't talk about policy. Trump barely talked about any of his policies up there on the debate stage. Do you agree with me that Republicans need to talk more about policy and what are the things they're going to do to make this country better? Because I don't hear a lot from anybody.
Well, I as I'm hearing you, it almost sounds like it's not that they're not talking about policy. Maybe they're talking about policies you don't like, which is fine. But there's a joke that they always say the left can't meme. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
I have, yeah.
And the joke is that Republicans will say something, and then Democrats will give you a long paragraph that no one wants to read.
Yeah.
So I would say that it's not so much that they don't. You can go on the platform, you can look at their websites. They'll have long policy planks, but yeah, most people aren't going to read all that. So. And I hate to say it, something that makes you angry is just a stronger motivator than, this look at my 10, 20 page policy paper. Those Republicans tend to lose, the ones who want to talk about how they're going to tweak interest rates or how they're going to have this kind of regulation changed here. Those conservative intellectuals do exist, and they're important, but it makes for poor advertising in a 30-second.
Maybe I'm wrong on this, but I think that's a problem with the Republican Party in a microcosm where a lot of people out there don't want to vote for Republicans on the right who actually talk about policy. They would rather have people like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert. But, listen, 6 out of 10 people believe that a woman should have the right to choose. It's a losing cause for Republicans if they are going to talk about abortion. They complain about Obamacare, and they keep saying, as Donald Trump did when he was president, in a few weeks, we're going to have a replacement plan. They don't have a replacement plan for Obamacare. I haven't heard any real solutions that Republicans have come up with when it comes to all the gun violence in this country. These are really important issues on Americans' minds. These are really important. Abortion's usually the number 2 thing. Obamacare, healthcare, extremely important. Gun violence. I mean, these are really important issues, and Republicans, I don't see any solutions. Am I wrong in making that assumption? I haven't gone on everybody's website. I hear what you're saying, but
I mean, Brian, it's just a fundamental difference on how, conservatives and liberals kind of view the world and view government and the role of government. Generally speaking, conservatives do not want government to come up with the solutions. They want individuals to come up with the solutions. They want.
And why take away a woman's right to choose?
Because we discussed this in our last conversation, because they believe that they are protecting that unborn child's individual right to exist.
So if they believe that, then why don't they just live their life with their own beliefs, and why would you push it on other people? It's my biggest criticism with religion, and it's my biggest criticism with politicians until it happens to you. Dick Cheney was very anti-gay. He was anti-gay marriage. Then all of a sudden he found out that one of his daughters was gay. Now all of a sudden he's pro-gay marriage. I see, stem cell research. So many Republicans are against stem cell research. Then we have some Republicans in office that have benefited from stem cell research. Oh, you know what? I'm okay with it now. It's one of my biggest criticisms with Republicans today is the word hypocrisy. It's until it happens to you.
I mean, what do you want me to unpack there? There's so much there, right?
Whatever you like. You got the floor, my friend.
I think that fundamentally conservatives believe that the role of government is to protect individual rights, and I understand that there's a debate on what that means. I don't agree with you, and most Republicans don't agree with you on that issue. I think there's some nuance on this, in particular on the abortion issue. Most Republicans believe that there should be exceptions for rape, incest, life of the mother. That is a very small percentage of abortions that actually happen. Most of them are elective. Mm-hmm. And I think that we live in a great, at the end of the day, we still live in a great country. And I don't believe poverty is a reason to snuff out a human life. And I don't think most people agree with that either. And you could say, hey, 60% of Americans are pro-choice. That may be true, but then when you start getting into the nuance, you start talking about, well, do you believe in tax-funded abortion? No. Do you believe in late, up to the moment of birth abortion? No. Most people don't agree with that, and I think
most Democrats don't agree with that either. And it's extreme rare cases, but I agree with you. Most Americans and Democrats do not agree with late-term abortion unless it could affect the health of the mother. So I think that's it's an argument where, most of America and Democrats agree with that. Mm-hmm. And the reason why I bring up the 60% thing is because there's a lot of Republicans in there too. They don't believe in late-term abortion. Neither do I. I think it's disgusting if a woman has 20 abortions or 10 abortions or, whatever the case may be. But most abortions, as you know, are done within the first several months of a pregnancy. Mm-hmm. As far as tax-funded stuff, here's my opinion on that, and you can tell me whether you disagree or not, and we got a couple more minutes here. Sure. When you have a woman who doesn't have funds, she's poor, she doesn't have the means, she doesn't have the access to good health care, she needs to make a decision. I want to make sure that woman can make that decision, and the government can help her if she needs to make that decision. I'd like to think that a lot of people agree with me on that. Even, give that woman the opportunity to have the proper health care that she needs in making what is, I think most people would agree, a very difficult decision. Do you disagree with that?
I feel like this might be a trap question, but
no, it's not a trap.
I feel like, women should be, should have the opportunity. I do believe that in this country, it is as far as other, places that exist, it is the easiest place to get yourself out of poverty and into the middle class than other places.
All right.
And I just refuse to accept that if you are in poverty and you have a child, that your best option is to have an abortion. I don't believe that's the case. First of all, my father was adopted, and I still don't know who my grandmother is, but we believe it might have been an economic situation. And
Sure.
I'm grateful that my father was given up for adoption. I understand the foster care system's overloaded, but the fact of the matter is newborn babies get adopted pretty quickly. It's usually when you get past 2, 3, 4, 5 years old, and up to 18 is when kids have trouble getting adopted.
Sure, I understand. Here's what I would say to that. Right now, as we speak, where abortion is legal in most states in this country, there are still upwards of 200 to 300,000 kids in this country that are waiting to be adopted. I find, not talking about you personally, but I find that a lot of people that call abortion, murder and are, anti-abortion are those that have not adopted any children themselves. I find that hypocritical. There are hundreds of thousands of kids right now that are waiting to be adopted. If you say abortion is illegal, that figure is going to be millions almost overnight. And I think Republicans need to think about that. I think that's an important issue, but good spirited debate with you, Woodrow. I do appreciate you taking the time to come on from Revere Solutions. You're welcome back anytime. And I think we both could probably agree on this. The next 4 to 5 months is probably going to be the most, maybe I'm trying to use the right word here, the craziest times politically in our lifetime. I'm a little older than you, but it's certainly going to be interesting. And I look forward to having you back on the show, Woodrow. And I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me on.
You bet. Appreciate it. That's Woodrow Johnston, a Republican strategist and the CEO of Revere Solutions, joining us. We disagree on a lot of topics, but I like to hear from the other side and have respectful conversations. I like to hear what their argument is going to have to say. Speaking of the other side, the residential liberal himself, Chris Wynn, is going to be joining us in studio next, and he always gets people fired up, so I'm going to open up the phone lines too. Number to call, 702-221-7283. If you want to be a part of the conversation, your thoughts on that interview I just did with Republican political strategist, your thoughts on my take on the debate on Thursday night, how I'm kind of changing my tune a little bit, maybe an overreaction. Taking your phone calls now, your thoughts on that. Again, that number, 702-221-7283. Your phone calls next. You're listening to PTL.
Have you ever dreamed of having your own radio show or a podcast, but just didn't think it was possible? Well, dreams can come true. Radio U. Radio U is a 5-day course that'll teach you how to acquire your dream show. We'll teach you how to host, how to write commercial, how to interview, how to market, how to write a contract, and most importantly, how to monetize your dream radio show. You'll learn from some of the best in the business with over 75 years in broadcast experience. You'll learn from people like me. And the best part? Every single student will be live on the radio as part of the class. Plus, one student from each class will get their very own radio show. You'll be live on the air right here in Las Vegas. Radio U. The 5-day course is being offered at $699. For more information, give Radio U a call. 702-763-5024. That's 702-763-5024. Or check them out at RadioYou101.com.
Hey, everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Who would have thought there'd be so many kids playing ice hockey in the desert? Jake Kelb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, founded by Gina Yusufzai 8 years ago, made it possible for families who can't afford the equipment and food. Donate today at www.hockeyforkids.org and help us continue making a difference. Join us in supporting Jake Helps Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, where every kid gets a shot at the starting line. Just a reminder, our website is www.hockeyforkids.org.
Tired of the same old date night? Craving a deeper connection with your partner? O-Box is your escape into a world of romance and passion. Each month, discover a box filled with personalized surprises, exciting activities, and a love story written just for the two of you. Ignite desire, share laughter, and make memories that last a lifetime. Your O-Box journey culminates into a beautiful love novel. Ready to write the first thrilling chapter? Let the O-Box adventure begin. Visit our website, obox.com. That's OBOXXX.com and get started.
Did you know that 99% of air conditioning issues start with airflow issues? Well, guess what? Pioneer Air has your back. They've been operating for 20 years in the industry within the Las Vegas area, large enough to handle all your air conditioning and heating needs, but small enough to know your first name. Pioneer Air focuses on preventative care, much like wellness checks for humans. They believe in wellness checks for air conditioning and heating systems to extend the life of the system you own. So what are you waiting for? Schedule your wellness check with Pioneer Air today. The number to call is 702-831-4840. Here's the best news. Mention this ad and you'll receive 10% off. Call Pioneer Air today. 702-831-4840. That number again, 702-831-4840. All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Monday. Thank you so much for joining us. Check out my good friends at Jackson's Bar and Grill. It's located at Flamingo and Jones. And good news, the TAM card promotion continues. What that means is any Tuesday in the month of July. Yes, it is July 1st. I can't believe it. Show your TAM card any Tuesday, and you instantly get $50 in free slot play. No ifs, ands, or buts. If it's and nuts were candies and butts, as Chris Wynn likes to say all the time, the residential liberal joining us in studio.
Democrat, yes, on the left, progressive,
yes,
progressive Democrat,
liberal.
I'll help you out. Well, okay, so I don't know if I'll help you out a little bit.
I
know right off the bat. I'm already jumping into you right off the bat. There's a difference between a progressive Democrat and a liberal. I'm just telling you, there's a difference.
Fair enough.
All right.
Okay.
Well, it's fair enough.
Thank you for educating me on that. I appreciate that.
I did. Yeah.
I said Shannon Elizabeth is coming in tomorrow, and I said Chris should take her to the Aces game tomorrow night. And
random.
Chris got very upset.
Very random. I did not get upset at all.
I'm just trying to help you out.
It's good to be here, Brian. It's a Monday. I'm actually usually here on every once in a while on a Tuesday now and then.
Yes.
Kind of mixing things up a little bit. I don't need to come in every week or every day.
Every day would be very
every
difficult.
set day, I should say, during the week. But good to be here at PTL. Of course, a lot of monumental things to talk about. You've already dived into it for the first hour. You had a guest on earlier as well, too. And you went into detail on Friday, obviously, with your guests as far as the debate was concerned. So, a lot of instrumental things that we're going to be talking about here.
A lot of instrumental things for sure. And I have a bunch of people on hold. But before I get to the phone calls, because we're going to take a bunch of calls today, I've said from the beginning that it was not a good debate night. It was a bad night for Joe Biden. I might have overreacted a little bit. I'm not saying that he has to be replaced. What I am saying at this point is he can still defeat Donald Trump. I do believe that. But Thursday night didn't help. There's some people that disagree with me on that. I've given out a few names here. I don't know if they're going to replace Joe Biden. I have no idea. But idiots like Bill O'Reilly are claiming, oh, yeah, they've already made the decision. No, they haven't. But there are some names out there that I've you've heard what I've said. I don't have to reiterate my opinions.
Exactly. Yeah.
What are your opinions on what I have said, and do you agree or disagree?
Well, it's not just about what you have said. No offense, brother, but it's about my opinions. My opinions are this. It's pretty straightforward. There's no question. All right. Let me be abundantly clear. Joe Biden did not have a good night on Thursday. There's no doubt. We have found out now after the fact that he was in fact under the weather. We did not know that going into the debate, right? And so we were all watching that and thinking, oh, is this This is not a good thing, right? As far as Joe Biden, and there were scenarios. Obviously, he looked sickly. He was weak. His voice was hoarse. Obviously, he was getting mixed up in his head when it came to some of the interpretations and how he was articulating, right? Whether it was policy or his viewpoints, there's no question that he had some moments where he was bumbling, and it was well documented, obviously, with the Medicare take, and with a couple of other things as well too during that debate.
Yep.
That being said, and this is going to sound kind of I want my cake and eat it too-ish, but I don't really care. You were exactly correct on Friday with your assessment that it wasn't like Donald Trump won this debate. It was like Joe Biden definitely took a step back when it came to this debate. That was my reflection with respect to that night, Thursday night. Donald Trump, all he did, and this is where I'll reiterate what you have said both on Friday and today. Mm-hmm. Donald Trump, I would say 98% of what came out of Donald Trump's mouth was either a lie, misinformation, not factually accurate, complete bumbling nonsense. And there were points, too, where Donald Trump also was a stumbling, bumbling fool on Thursday night as well, right? You made a joke on Friday. It was hilarious. We were hanging out, you and our mutual friend Al De Leon, talking about, Chris, sometimes you like to repeat things twice. Donald Trump is the king of repeating things twice, all right? He did it multiple times. The example that jumps out to me during the debate was when he was talking about January 6th and how all those people were just treated so badly. He kept repeating it over. All those people were treated so badly. No, they weren't, okay? They were found guilty of crimes, and now they are facing the music, and they have faced justice with respect to January 6th. But almost every other thing that came out of Donald Trump's mouth was a complete lie. And I agree with you with respect to Joe Biden should have been able to push back, right? And I think part of it was, look, he's 82 years old, folks. I think we have to understand that too as well. We all know 82-year-olds. Sometimes you're not going to be on top of your game with respect to snapping back on situations like that. So he was not. Also, you talked about Jake Tapper, right? And Dana Bash. Look, I understand the criticisms as far as them not pushing back, as far as Donald Trump being factually accurate. But I also, I'm not making excuses for them, but I think it had to do with the format as well, too, of the debate, right? You're talking about a 3-minute response, and then you got the 1-minute rebuttal, 1 minute, 1 minute counter response as well, too, right? So the structure of the debate made it very problematic for Dana or Jake Tapper to in real time push back to Donald Trump's lies. And Brian, let's be honest, Donald Trump lied every single statement almost. So Dana Bash or Jake Tapper would have had to immediately come out and said, okay, well, what you just said is BS. What you just said is not true. Yeah. And this is A, B, and C, why it's not true. So I guess in a way I'm defending Dana and Jake with respect to that. And Joe Biden as well, too, because Joe Biden, you're not afforded the time in a debate structure like that where he could have been immediately rebuked Donald Trump's lies in real time. He just wasn't able to do it because of the structure of the debate. So, but I concur again with a lot of what you said on Friday with respect to the debate. I think at the end of the day, I don't think it's going to have a monumental impact on the election overall. Mm-hmm. But it definitely in the moment was a moment, I'll say, for us Democrats, especially to take a step back and say, whoa. Maybe we are too enamored with Joe Biden, not enamored in the way that you Trumpers are with Donald Trump, but maybe there is a possibility that maybe Joe and Jill and the Biden family and the Biden administration will maybe look to go a different direction, i.e. Joe Biden stepping back as far as not being the presidential nominee in 2024. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm saying it's a possibility, and it should be something that we can take a look at and not lose our minds over if we're Democrats. That being said, and I'll finish up by saying this, the idea that Republicans are sitting and doing end zone dances, Brian Shapiro, after that debate, like they're about to put Donald Trump back in the White House, is beyond laughable and absurd. All right? You people out there are so delusional, and your parallel reality is so jacked up that you think of after that debate, Brian, that Donald Trump all of a sudden now is in the White House in 2024, it's beyond laughable.
All right. If you're just joining us, it's the Chris Wynn Show. Chris.
Well, I mean, what do you want? Hey, brother, you have me on for an hour a week, right? You have me on. It's the first 10 minutes I'm on the show. I'm going to give my take. I'm going to give my take, bro.
Have a lot to
all
get
right.
off.
So what are we going to do now? We're going to go take phone calls, and you and I are going to have to listen to callers for the rest of the hour.
Well, we don't have
That's how
to.
we're going to do it.
I enjoy
it.
Well,
I mean, I'm not bogarting the show. I'm just giving my take. And I haven't talked about it, obviously. It's not defensive at all. I'm laying it out.
You have a lot to get off.
It is.
You have a lot to get off your chest. I understand. All right.
And we haven't even talked about the Supreme Court decision. We haven't even talked about it.
Well, we're going to take some phone calls. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's take some calls. Let's start off with Al. Al, what's going on?
How you doing, Al? You there?
Did we lose Al? I don't know what's going on. 702-221-7283 is the number. All right. Hey, Al, what's going on, man?
We hear somebody.
Hey, listen, I got to give you a prop, and then I'm going to make a comment. So the prop, I'm a Riley fan, and I have to agree with it. I don't think he has much credibility that Biden is going to get out. I mean, where's this guy coming from?
No, he doesn't. So, he's an a-hole. Let's be honest. Bill O'Reilly's a bad guy.
Yeah, a lot of people don't like him. I like his commentary, but I don't like him that much.
Apparently, there's not a lot of women that like him.
Al, this doesn't really make sense. So wait a minute. You like his commentary, but you don't like. And by the way, O'Reilly's kind of irrelevant now. He's on like his own platform, right? He's not even on Fox News anymore, so he's not really even in the mix. Well, and I agree with Brian. He just tossed that out there and tossed that out there. He has no idea what he's talking about.
Exactly. But to answer your question, Hannity once said, he goes, I went to lunch with you, O'Reilly, and I like you, but nobody else likes you. I thought I was going to get beat up. That's a true statement. Okay, so I support you on that. So now, here's the other thing, though. You talked about Republicans have no policy. Now, I'm out there actually talking to Republicans, knocking on doors. And I tell them I'm supporting this candidate. He wants to close the border, increase energy, get us to be energy independent, and we want to reduce deficit spending.
If he wants
this is a response to me.
Well, hold on. Before you continue. If he wants to close the border, why didn't he do it when he was president?
Well, no. I'm talking about. Well, he did as much as he could. I mean, you got to get Congress.
Brian, what Al's talking about, Brian, Al, you just said that we said Republicans don't have policy. That's not true. What you just said is factually inaccurate. Okay. We know Republicans have policies. Time out. Let me finish what I'm saying. I'm responding to you. Okay, just let me finish my paragraph. Okay. You said that Republicans, I assume you're saying we, meaning Democrats, right? Independents and people like Brian, right? Say that Republicans have no policy. That's not true. We know you Republicans have policies that you want to implement. I don't think Donald Trump operates from a policy standpoint. I've said that numerous times on the show. Donald Trump's not a policy guy. Donald Trump is a me guy. Donald Trump is a grievance guy. Donald Trump, during the entire debate, did not engage in substance or policy. All he did was lie about everything or complain about Joe Biden, saying Joe Biden's administration did this, and this, even though it was a lie.
Go ahead, Al. That's
a possibility. Yeah. That's a possibility. And
it's not a possibility. That's what it is. It's not a possibility. That's a fact.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fine. That's fine. If you want to make that a fact, that's fine. I'm talking about, whether you want to believe it or not, Trump does not speak for all Republicans.
But he's the candidate for
don't even
president.
like Trump.
Yeah, but he's running for
president. He is the candidate. I'm talking the general voting Republican.
Okay, that's fine.
That's what I'm talking.
I'm
not going over there and talking to what they say. I'm not talking like I went knock on Trump's door and he said that.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is that this is what the voting Republican wants. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, I mean,
that's fine.
Fair enough, Al. And
that's all I'm saying.
I appreciate that, Al, and I understand where you're coming from. In closing, I will say this though: I cannot understand how and Al, I think you're a nice guy. I cannot understand how Republicans that call themselves decent human beings, people of God, good Christians, whatever the case may be, could stand by and support a guy who is a 34-count felon, sexual abuser, who only cares about himself, who sells Trump Bibles and $400 gold sneakers. Now, I can go on and on with going after our POWs and service members and all that. I don't care what your policy disagreements are with Joe Biden. The fact that there are that many people in this country that are Republican that would vote for this guy and still support this guy, to me, there is no defense for it. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Tom. Tom is next up on PTL. Hi, Tom. Thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
Hi, this is Tom from Syracuse. Hello to Chris and Brian.
What's
You
up,
guys
Tom?
look great there, and very festive look behind your head there, Chris. You got
it's almost
thing
like it's
hanging up
Christmas
there.
in July, right? July 1st.
Yeah, it does.
There it is.
Yes. So, a couple things I'm going to say. First of all, I agree with you guys regarding the debate. I got overreactive too and thought maybe that Biden should get out, but I'm kind of with Brian on that.
Yep.
Now, the big bombshell today, of course, was the Supreme Court decision ruling that came down.
No question.
And here's my thought on that. 6 of these 9 have ruled that a president of an official act can encourage an act against an opponent, which could include assassination. Seriously, if SCOTUS has ruled on this and a federal judge said Trump is a clear and present danger to this country, Biden should act. Do what has just been ruled on. He now has the tool. Some say we shouldn't do that, but a year from now, if he has imprisoned several of his opponents or has executed military generals, which he said should have done, and rounded up immigrants in camps, which he promises to do, maybe we might see things differently. I do know that in 1 year, if Trump is our president dictator, I would never be saying this on a national radio show.
No, you're right. Tom, you're 100% right, and I do appreciate the call and the position on that, besides it being just absolutely absurd, is you can, again, I talked about this in the first segment, Chris, where you can go back to 1942, Nazi Germany, the German chancellor, the final solution. It's why we had the Holocaust. And with this verbiage that the Supreme Court has put into place today, that would be considered an official act, and they would have immunity. 7 million Jews were murdered. It drives me crazy.
I'll give you a couple other scenarios, right, that you did not talk about, right? What if Joe Biden right now wanted to assassinate his political opponents, right? And wanted to use SEAL Team 6 to assassinate his political opponents because it's a quote-unquote official act of the United States president and chief executive? He'd be able to do that.
Yeah.
What if Joe Biden didn't want to leave after he got beat in November of 2024, Brian Shapiro?
Yep.
What if President Biden wanted to contest the election and wanted to, incite an insurrection, right?
An erection.
I did. I almost said it. Well, I mean, what the point? The point.
Come in tomorrow if you want to incite an erection.
It opened up Pandora's box, didn't it, Brian Shapiro? Right. This decision from the Supreme Court, it opens up the door just a little bit. All right, where you get this rationale from MAGA and Trump people that Donald Trump absolutely he had immunity when he was president back in January.
So let's be
back in January of 2020. He had immunity. It's a very disheartening and ridiculous decision from the Supreme Court. And it's one more thing, Brian. It's one more indication that our United States Supreme Court right now is a laughing stock. The credibility of the Supreme Court has absolutely been tossed out the window at this point.
Let's be very clear here in that. Yes. The same Supreme Court justices that ruled 6-3, or was it 6-3 today? I thought it was, are the same idiots that overturned Roe versus Wade. These are MAGA Supreme Court morons who accept millions of dollars in bribes. These are the same idiots in the front of their house who have their flag turned upside down. These are idiots that are in the Supreme Court, conservative idiots. 702-221-7288.
But Brian, let me quickly elaborate before we go back to the phones here. And not only that, 2 of the justices on the Supreme Court have already dissented with their opinions, Brian, all right? Justice Jackson and Justice Sotomayor, all right, have already come out in writing and gone against this decision, all right? So this isn't just a situation where, they voted and everybody just kind of has to accept it and there's going to be no other commentary. 2 U.S. Supreme Court justices have already come out and condemned this decision. Well, it's like a Brian Shapiro sweet red car, right? That has a oil pan that has a hole in the oil pan and there's oil coming out of it. That's credibility coming out of the Supreme Court, all right? That's why I'm using the analogy. The Supreme Court is leaking credibility by the day at this point, and this is extremely discouraging decision.
Let's go back to the phone line, 702-221-7283. Let's go to Patrick. Patrick is next up on PTL. Hello, Patrick.
Hello, Brian. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing good, Patrick. What's on your mind?
Well, just thinking about the debate you guys were talking about, and most of the people that were watching today, I'd say 50% of the people that watched the debate going into it knew that Joe Biden was going to have issues, and I think most people probably thought that he did better.
Where'd you get that number, 50%? Where's that? Is that just in your head, the 50%? What is that number from?
Hey, Josh, please, just hold on a second,
Josh,
buddy.
my name's Chris.
Here.
Josh, be quiet.
Josh.
Josh.
Chris, okay, so 50. Where'd you get that number from?
You talk too much, man. Just
you talk a lot of gibberish too much. You don't make any sense.
Me and Patrick.
What are you talking about?
Me and Patrick finally agree on something.
No, you don't. No, you don't.
Go ahead,
no, you
Patrick.
don't. Don't encourage him. Okay. Don't let idiots.
Go ahead.
Chiming in.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Brian, you need a new guest host, man.
Whatever. Sounds good. Hey, wait, you got a point? Do you have a point? What's your point?
The point I think
what?
a lot of people are waking up to is that the media has been lying to us for the last couple of years about the condition of Biden, making excuses for him, talking about how sharp he is and how great he's doing, but yet he won't do press conferences. He won't come out and talk for more than a couple of words. His dialogue is words like, no, don't do it. That's about all he can say. That's all he has.
Okay, Patrick, I got a question for you.
Brian, I seem to recall you talking to Brian Shapiro on Friday about a Are you going to listen to me when I talk? So, Brian, I recall you talking about something that happened on Friday. What was that, Brian Shapiro? What were you talking about on Friday with Joe Biden?
Hold on, let me just finish my sentence. Oh, okay, because you just interrupted. Just let me just finish my sentence.
I jumped in before you started talking.
Is he on drugs?
What did you talk about on Friday, Brian?
It's Chris, not Josh.
Brian, what did you talk about on Friday with Joe Biden?
Hold on 1 second. Let me just finish my thought, and then I'll answer your question. Okay. So, Patrick, I wanted to ask you a quick question real quick. Would you rather have a president who admittedly and on purpose lies about everything intentionally to mislead the American people, or a president at times who fumbles over his words because he's 82 years old and at times has bad debates? Because that's really what we're talking about here. You can talk about how the delivery was bad, right? But Donald Trump literally lied, as Chris said, or Josh, or whatever your name is, about everything that Trump said in that debate about policy was a lie. So does that not bother you at all? Because if we can sit here and talk about Joe Biden's cognitive difficulties, because, we're all doctors, right? We can talk about how he fumbled over his words and he didn't have a great debate. But why are people like you not even mentioning the fact that Donald Trump was bragging about his golf handicap? He was lying about the immigration numbers. He lied about abortion, his stance on abortion. He lied about so many different things. That doesn't bother you at all?
Well, I did hear that CNN said that he lied 30 times, but CNN doesn't make a point to really talk about what the lies are.
No, they actually did. And no, you're wrong. I actually did, and I played it, and I spoke about every single one of those lies on the air on Friday. So, sir, with all due respect, you're wrong. Actually, they went into detail on every single lie, what he said, and why it was a lie. So I don't know what you're talking about. I know you don't watch a lot of CNN. You watch OAN and Newsmax because they're very credible organizations.
No, I don't have. No, I You think that's funny, Josh?
No, I think it's funny. I think Patrick, you call this show every single day almost, okay? And everything you say, you kind of remind me of one of our colleagues, one of our buddies here in town by the name of Matty V, who every single take he has when it comes to politics is horse crap and or is just biased or bigoted or judgmental or idiotic. So yes,
Patrick,
that's my viewpoint when it comes to your phone calls on the show.
I disagree, Patrick.
I like
you. I like you. I like you, Patrick. There's a part of me that likes you. I don't know why.
But what do you disagree with that I just said, though? That's the thing.
Me and you, Brian, would probably do all right having a beer, man, just shooting the shit and talking, man.
We probably would. We probably would, Patrick.
We'd be okay.
Say goodbye to Josh.
Okay.
Josh. Bye, Josh. Hey, goodbye. Goodbye, Richard. Thanks for the phone call. I appreciate it.
Maybe one day we'll have that beer, Patrick.
So, Shaq, the reason I brought up what you said on Friday and was talking about what Patrick was talking about is because you brought up correctly, all right, what happened with Joe Biden at the rally the next day. What happened? It was not the situation that it was at the debate.
Correct.
Joe Biden was more coherent. It was a different setting. Obviously, there were teleprompters. It's a different situation.
He was on script,
so that's why I was bringing it up, and you just ignored it. And when we had Patrick on the phone call,
he was on script.
And I know you want to I know you want to have a back and forth with him and get into it because it's good radio. I get that. But that's the reason why I was bringing it up, okay, is because the next day, yes, of course, it's not on script. Yes, there is a teleprompter. It's a different situation. That's what I'm talking about.
Situation.
So it's a different scenario. You're basically ad-libbing in a debate, right?
Sure.
You're off the cuff, off the top of your head.
He needs
it's
to be
a different situation. But the point I was just making 5 seconds ago, why I brought it up to you, is because he was rambling, that the caller, Patrick, was rambling on about how, oh, yeah, every other situation, Joe Biden's basically, I'll paraphrase, was a bumbling idiot, right? And it's just, all over the place.
I wouldn't say
he
that.
said that.
Yeah.
That's why I was bringing it up to you, and I was using it. I was trying to be comical about it. I was like, hey, what did you talk about, Brian, on Friday? And that's why I wanted to reiterate that, and you just kind of bypassed it.
Well, I bypassed it because Patrick was on the line, and it doesn't bother him that Donald Trump. By the way, all those lies, CNN went into depth in saying what those lies were.
Yes.
702-221-7283 is the number to call. Why don't we go to Peter? Peter is next up on PTL. Hello, Peter.
Hello, how are you all?
Good.
Doing
What's on
great.
your mind, Peter? Where are you
I
calling?
got a new name now. My name's Josh now.
No, Josh Seawind. Peter, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from the southern Mississippi.
All right. Well,
Nice.
thanks for calling in, Peter. What's on your mind today?
What's on my mind is it appears to me that in the past, wasn't the president able to bring in more Supreme Court justices? I mean, we've got a 6-3 deadlock that's going to be forever.
Mm-hmm.
Why can't Joe Biden, president of the United States, bring in 4 more justices?
No, he can't do that.
They have to go through either the House or the Senate. I don't know exactly what the process is, but the president cannot just unilaterally use the phrase that we all been using: stack the court. Right?
Yeah.
That's been something that's been talked about among Democrats and independents and Republicans.
Well, why is it
that you should have? I mean, obviously a lot of Democrats, right, Brian, would love to quote unquote stack the court, because that way it'd be more representative of what actually the United States of America is.
Why is it?
That's the rationale to do it.
I want to ask Peter a question though. Yeah. Why is it that we're having these issues with Clarence Thomas, with the alleged bribes that he took and millions of dollars that he never reported? Why is it that we're having these issues with Supreme Court justices that allegedly raped women? Why is it we're having these issues with Supreme Court justices in the front of their homes that are flipping their flags upside down? Why are they all? Why are they all
got supreme immunity?
Well, why are they conservatives? Why aren't the Democrats doing stuff like that in the Supreme Court? Why is it the conservatives that seem to do it? Why is that?
Yeah. Well, that's that appears to be a pretty good question. I guess just to tick off a lot of Democrats, because they can get away with it. Democrats don't mess with that kind of nonsense.
Well, listen, Democrats aren't perfect, but I'm just speaking specifically now about the Supreme Court justices. Thomas and his wife are just despicable human beings. Okay, this man Alito who puts his flag upside down. What kind of man are you to blame your wife? Ted Cruz did the same thing. Remember when he went to Cancun and he blamed his kids and his wife? It always seems like the same thing with these conservative idiots. They either hide behind their bigotry with their religion, or they blame their kids, or they blame their wife, because they're not men. That's why. They're idiots. They're disgraces.
Absolutely.
These people are a disgrace, and I appreciate your call, my friend. It's a good question that you asked, and hopefully we answered it for you. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Joseph. Joseph is next up on PTL. What's going on, Joseph?
Yeah, hey, Brian. First, I heard about the Supreme Court. Makes me think, that's what upsets me the most, that Trump is going to get away scot-free, away from the criminal trials. No. It's all because of those Trump-supported judges, and it's like they just want to see Trump get away with everything.
Yeah,
I understand your sentiment, but that's not the reality of the situation. He's just not getting off scot-free now just because of this decision. It has been, especially just from the wording of the actual decision with respect to the Supreme Court. There are situations in which there are official moves made by the president, and then there are private moves made as well too. So it's not set in stone. All right. That Donald Trump, and by the way, Donald Trump has to, for all of this stuff to move forward as far as being problematic, if Donald Trump gets reelected again, right? If Donald Trump does not get reelected, then it doesn't even matter. All this stuff doesn't matter because he's still going to have to face justice with respect. I mean, it's going to be delayed justice, of course, with the case down in South Florida because of the judge being a complete incompetent buffoon down there, essentially. But the case in Washington, D.C. is still going to absolutely positively move forward, and it should move forward even if Donald Trump does get elected president. Just because he gets elected in November doesn't mean that he is, quote unquote, automatically immune from those cases. So just to be frank, that's not the reality of the situation just because the decision was made. Yeah.
And speaking of Joe Biden, I know that he didn't do well at the debate, and I know there were talks about him trying to step down and had to replace somebody. But for me personally, I still say Joe Biden still may have a chance. Even if the Democrats would try to choose somebody else, there's no way that's going to defeat Trump because even though nobody doesn't believe in the polls anymore,
right?
But I still believe the polls are going to go up because of Trump.
Yeah, that's a very definite possibility, Joseph, and I appreciate your call. It's a good point. 702-221-7283. We have one phone line open. Who are we going to next here, Justin? Let's go to Bob. Bob is next on PTL. What's going on, Bob? Where are you calling from? Hi, Bob.
Arkansas.
Arkansas?
Arkansas. All right.
Arkansas.
All right.
Yeah, my name's Bob. It's Clyde. Clyde.
Okay. What's up, Bob? What's on your mind?
I was just wondering, now that Trump has presidential immunity, doesn't that make all the rest of these presidents going to have presidential immunity?
Yeah, well, yeah, absolutely. I think it's a terrible thing, Bob. I don't know how you feel about this, but I think it's horrible. It's a terrible decision that the Supreme Court made, and make no mistake about it. The reason why this happened is because we have some MAGA Supreme Court justices. That's why.
Okay,
Otherwise,
I don't know exactly why it happened. I'm just wondering if now that Biden has immunity, presidential immunity, why don't he exile that asshole to shithole country?
Well, I certainly wouldn't support something like that, and Joe Biden's not going to do that.
But Joe Biden does not operate that way, right, Brian?
You do.
That's not how he operates.
But Bob does. Bob does bring up a good point, though, in that Joe Biden has immunity when it comes to official acts. And Bob, you're right. I mean, obviously that's not going to happen. We don't want that to happen. At least some of us don't want that to happen. But you're right. The only reason why this happened is because Donald Trump does not want Jack Smith's case put forth in front of the American people before the elections, because all Donald Trump cares about is himself. This isn't about future presidents the way Donald Trump would like to perceive everybody to believe. This is only about Donald Trump, the scumbag that he is, and the crimes that I believe he committed. He's already a 34-count felon. This is about Donald Trump and nobody else.
I mean, I've been keeping up with Trump since he ran in '86.
Mm-hmm.
And he's been a scumbag ever since. The truth.
Absolutely. You don't have an argument for me on that one. He is a despicable human being who has only cared about himself. And I'm going to be very clear, Bob, and I'm going to say this again because I've said it before. I would vote for a vegetable over Donald Trump, okay? No matter how...
I'd vote for a dead cat in the middle of the road before I'd vote for Trump.
Well, we agree on that, Bob, and I'm with you, my friend, 150%, and I appreciate you calling, Bob. Thank you so much. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you want to join the conversation. Let's go to Matt. Matt is next on PTL. What's up, Matt?
Hey, it's Matt from Plattsburgh. We talked before, but no, I was kind of surprised today that when they ruled that if Donald J. Trump went to the DOJ with speaking about his trying to overturn the election, so then wouldn't that, because he went to the DOJ, if Biden were to say, go to the DOJ and say, we have Trump here who threw an insurrection.
Okay, so the point you're making, it wasn't the DOJ. So what they were talking about, the scenario you're talking about, is him going to his attorney general. He goes to his attorney general and he says, "Hey, all right, make this stuff up. You don't have to have any evidence. Just make this stuff up about the election, and that will give me cover to claim that the election was rigged and that it was stolen." That is what the scenario was talked about. It wasn't Trump going to the Department of Justice. It was Trump going to his attorney general, and that with the Supreme Court opening up this Pandora's box now and saying official acts. That could be deemed an official act. There have been legal scholars, people like Andrew Weissman have gone on national television, others in the last 6-7 hours, and have talked about that scenario in which he goes to his attorney general and fabricates something and makes his attorney general do it, that could be looked at as an official act, and he can't be prosecuted for it. It's beyond absurd.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
So Biden went to the attorney general and said, Trump's an insurrectionist. We need to SEAL Team 6 after him.
Exactly, yeah. He could do it. But
So
you know,
then
Joe
it's an
Biden's not going to do
official
that.
act.
He's not going to do that. Because the American public and we all, any reasonable, rational person, right, thinks that is a abuse of power, right? That is overstepping your bounds as the president of the United States.
But that's not a MAGA person.
Exactly. Exactly. You're exactly right. Yeah.
These are very, my friend, these are very weird, dangerous times that we are living in. I'm going to tell you right now, and I said this earlier, when Biden's not here with us anymore, when I'm not here with us anymore, when Trump's not here,
Yep.
this is going to affect this nation for decades and decades and decades to come. And why? Because of Orange Turd. Thank you so much for the call, my friend. I appreciate it. I cannot believe that the Supreme Court has gone this far. But yet, maybe I shouldn't be surprised. Let's go to Julian. Julian is next up on PTL. Julian, what's up, my man? Where are you calling from, Julian?
Hey, dude, I'm in Vegas.
All right.
How are y'all doing today?
I like it. Thanks for listening in, Julian. What's on your mind? I'm doing
Yeah.
good. What's on your mind?
Yeah. Also, Josh, definitely not Chris. Nice to talk to you as well.
Good stuff.
So as for the idea of replacing Biden, I don't know if y'all have hit on Alan Lichtman and his 13 keys to the presidency, or if you know who he is.
So
I know who he is, yeah.
Alan Lichtman,
Yeah.
is that who you're referring to? So at the I don't know if you listened to the first segment, Julian. I won't hold it against you.
I missed the first
Well,
segment today,
guess what I did
unfortunately.
the first segment, my friend. Smart minds think alike. I played some cuts from Alan Lichtman, who made some very good points, professor of history at American University on CNN about the impact of the debate. He said there's zero impact. Now, I don't know if I agree with that, but I do understand where he's coming from.
Well, I was going to say, but also historically, that hasn't had the case. Like Obama had a terrible debate, and actually, from the statistics, he actually lost by a worse margin in his first debate upon running for re-election than Joe Biden did. Biden also has, in terms of like the idea of replacing him and why it's probably a bad idea. Biden also has a whole fundraising apparatus in place that another person would need to like start over from. He also has a whole bunch of field offices and grassroots efforts that just somebody couldn't necessarily just pick up and run with. All of these like impact that aspect.
Yeah.
And then the last thing, which I'm sure you hit on, but like, yes, we as Democrats and whatnot, the big story was Joe Biden is an old man. And he did old man stuff, and it was a terrible night, but I don't think really indicative of who he truly is. And but what I think we miss on is Donald Trump is a sociopath, and a lot of people like haven't seen Donald Trump. They maybe have heard stories about him in the last 3 years, but Donald Trump himself hasn't necessarily been out there as much in the public eye. Sure, for MAGAs, but not for like the people in the middle. And that was a reintroduction to just how insane Donald Trump is. Like, we might be used to Donald Trump saying like, oh, Democrats want to perform an abortion after the baby's born. We all know that's horseshit, and we're kind of used to it. But when a center voter who's undecided hears that, they're going to be like, this person's insane.
I think most normal human beings in this country that are not biased, even some reasonable Republicans, know that Donald Trump is a mentally ill man. And while many of these people on the far right want to talk about Joe Biden's cognitive difficulties, I mean, Donald Trump is up there when the American people are worried about the economy, abortion is a big issue, whatever the case may be, and he wants to brag about his handicap. By the way, have you seen that fat ass swing a golf club? He's worse than Charles Barkley, by the way. It's just terrible. Hey, good points you make, brother. I appreciate you, Julian. Thanks for calling in, brother.
Thanks, Julian.
Take it easy.
Yep.
Yeah, and to Julian's point, Brian, and you talked about this too. Also on Friday, you had your guest Carmine Sabia, and he talked about how, look, Joe Biden. There's millions of Americans out there, right? He said that this is all they're going to see is that 90 minutes on Thursday night, and there's a bunch of the electorate out there that's all they're going to see. Well, let me tell you something, brother. That works both ways. All right. It also works with Donald Trump. There's going to be people out there that are either, we use the phrase on the fence, whatever, independents, people that maybe haven't made their decision whether or not they're going to go to the polls, which is really what matters when it comes to November, is people getting out to vote, right?
Yeah,
It's getting out your vote. It's not people that are going to switch from Trump voters to Biden voters. But when talking about the people, there's people that saw that debate and saw the former president of the United States just straight up lied across the board about everything.
Unless you're biased.
So give me a break, okay?
Yeah. Unless you're biased.
There's people that saw it was a bad performance by Joe Biden. I, as a Democrat,
Trump didn't win
own
anything.
it. I understand that. But Trump didn't win anything,
No,
and
he
there's no situation. Again, I brought this up when I came on at 1 o'clock, all right? The idea that you MAGA people out there and Trumpers are doing end zone, are all celebrating after that and saying, oh, yeah, our guy's in the White House in November 2024. You need to calm down and take a step back.
I'm just gonna call everything rigged now. He could take his rigged club championship and shove it up his ass. Take that trophy. 702-221-7.
Two of them, Shapiro, right?
Two
He's
of
got
them.
two of them.
Yeah, I saw that guy's
Two
golf
club
swing.
championships.
702, carry your own bag, as Joe Biden would say. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Vivian. Vivian is next. What's up, Vivian?
Hi, Vivian.
Hi, Brian and Chris. How you doing today?
Good.
Okay, I'm voting for Biden. I don't care what anybody say, and I think the Democratic Party needs to pull, all hands on deck. We need to pull behind Joe. We need to go out into the states and tell these people Donald Trump is the wrong person for us. People have Trump amnesia, and they really don't remember how it was when Trump was in office, how awful he was for everybody except for his rich friends. And he's nothing but a dummy head for the Republicans.
Yeah.
Because
it's interesting.
They already got their plan.
Vivian,
they already got their plan of what they want to do.
Vivian, you brought up a good point. Did you see the barbershop black get together in that barbershop? Are those the
that guy is getting a whole bunch of backlash because of that.
Yeah, and are those the kinds of people that are hanging out at Mar-a-Lago? Do they look like that? No, they're white, rich elitists that are hanging out at Mar-a-Lago. And then the owner of the barbershop said that they pretty much it wasn't supposed to be a campaign event, and he's come out and he said, yeah, they pretty much, the fix was in and they didn't tell him about it, and they used his barbershop. And then you have a black voter who's sitting there who asked Trump a question, which I think is a good one. Hey, what are you going to do for us? Black people are struggling in this country. And instead of giving out any policies, he says, well, you know what? I have so much great support from the black community because of that mugshot. I mean, first of all, how complicit, how stupid are you, Donald Trump, to say something like that? That's so insulting, number one, right?
And Vivian, I'll do you one better. Hey, Brian. Vivian, I'll do you one better. I'll do you one better. Remember the comment that he made over the weekend? Actually, it might have been on Thursday when he was railing against migrants, right? And he's talking about, migrants are going out there and they're taking away black jobs. Correct me if I'm wrong.
What's a black job?
What is a black job? I don't know what that is, right? So making comments like that doesn't do him any favors either.
I've never heard of that.
When it comes to the black community in America.
Job? Yeah.
Come on.
Vivian, it's crazy, crazy times.
No, I just got one thing.
Sure.
Unlike the Republicans, we're not giving up our party and giving it over to the MAGA. We're going to stand up for America, and we're going to do whatever we have to do to make sure that Joe Biden gets in, that his administration is in, and that we get what we need to get done to make this country stay great
Vivian,
as it is.
I am with you. Very well said. In this day and age, and thank you for the call, by the way. In this day and age, if you're in the Republican Party, apparently all you have to do is sexually abuse women and become a felon and wear 8 layers of orange makeup, and all of a sudden you control the entire party. Great job, Republicans. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Brian. Really good name, by the way. Brian, what's going on, man? Thanks for calling in. Where are you calling from?
Republican 702-221.
Brian, are you there?
We hear the show in the background.
Put him
definitely.
on hold. Yeah, don't hang up. Put him
but
on
to
hold.
Vivian's point, really quickly, Brian.
Is he there? He's there. He's there.
Oh, he is there?
Brian, are you there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm here.
What's up, my friend? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Nashville.
Nashville,
I agree,
Tennessee.
great name.
Nice. Thanks for calling in, Brian. What's on your
mind? The new home of Jonathan Marchessault, our star forward here in Vegas.
Yes.
You're going to enjoy having him.
Okay.
He's like,
nobody knows.
Not a hockey guy.
Nobody knows.
Not a hockey guy.
Once
apparently.
again, nobody
That's
knows
okay.
what Chris is
That's all
talking
right.
about, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Brian.
So I kind of want to bring up a different point here. I've seen some comments on your live comment when I was watching your show on Twitter, and
and did some quick little research, and I'm a retired 26-year veteran of intelligence.
Oh, wow.
And so I have a little bit different perspective. Everybody knows what a scumbag Trump is, and he's been that way his whole life. So I got some different questions that raised up. So I also have a family member that's a felon. He a very low felon that had to do with business.
Okay.
So he lost his civil rights to vote. That means Trump had to as well.
Right, correct.
He lost his right to carry a gun.
Mm-hmm.
That means Trump did as well.
Correct.
And if he's going to be president, he's going to have to, be in charge, commander-in-chief of the greatest military in history. So, and then on top of that, you have none of the media outside of the shows like yours. Even if you go as far as CNN now, I mean, of course, they're owned by Murdoch, so that kind
I'm
of
very
tells the story.
disappointed in CNN and the way the moderators handled that debate. But anyway, that's another topic. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, and so now you have a conviction who's running for office. I also have top secret security clearance, and the field that I'm in outside of the military, I also have that clearance. If I was to get a felony, I would lose that.
Correct. It's a double standard, Brian.
Also, it's
a double standard.
Yeah, just like Trump, my family member can't go to 38 countries either.
Right.
So I guess my question is how can somebody, even if they were elected president, they can't go to 38 countries, they can't carry a gun,
You're right.
They can't vote.
It's absurd.
They can't have access to top secret.
It's
And
absurd.
there's nothing in the Constitution that waives that law.
Brian,
This
that is
law.
such a great point that you're making. And by the way,
multiple points.
Thank you so much for your service. You're a hero, Brian. And it's such a remarkable point that you bring up and that not a lot of people in the media are bringing up. If the man becomes president again, which I think most of us in this country, at least in this room, don't want to see, he can't carry a gun. There's a ton of countries he can't even travel to. How could you be the president of the United States? It's so absurd. Okay, it's absurd the times that we are living in, and Brian brings up a lot of good points there.
Well, other Brian, okay, look, you're not gonna get any argument from me, okay? I've reiterated on this show multiple times. I think it's flat out absurd that he's even able to run at this point. We are looking at a gentleman in Donald Trump. I shouldn't even use the phrase "gentleman" to describe him. We're looking at a guy who could possibly be in prison in the next handful of days. He could be in prison, and this is the guy who. The Republicans are running to be the chief executive of the United States. I don't agree. Look, myself and Chris Cuomo, we are at odds when it comes to opinions across the board a lot of times. I do agree with Chris Cuomo and his take on this. I mean, is this the best we have to offer America? Really?
Well, no, hopefully the answer
is
no.
the best we have
we're
to
running
offer?
I agree. We're running out of time here, so I want to try to get as many callers as I can. I've been waiting patiently. Let's go to Pam. Pam is next on PTL. Hi, Pam. Where are you calling from?
Hi, no, it's with a T, Tam. I had two older brothers, and my real name was Catherine Tamara, but they couldn't say it, so they reused it to 3 letters.
Fair enough. Where are you calling from, Tam?
Grovetown, Georgia, but originally from New York City.
All right, I love my New Yorkers. What's on your mind today?
Well, I wanted to say that I think Joe Biden won the debate.
I would say one.
On
substance, I'm a Democrat,
If you listen to what he said, he's 81 years old. He came with a defect in his voice when he was born, right? And so he's been president all this time. He studied and studied, step after step after step.
Tam, I hear what you're saying. Tam, I hear what you're saying. Could you make the argument that he won on? Could you make the argument that he won on substance? Perhaps, sure. But this wasn't the same Joe Biden that we saw on a stage with Kamala Harris when they were debating. This wasn't
absolutely agree with you.
Okay, so yeah, so on substance, you could perhaps make because there was no substance from Orange Turd. We know that. But on delivery, it was an F-. He needs to feel better. He needs to sound better. He needs to be able to articulate what he's trying to say better. And I appreciate your call, Tam. I don't mean to cut you short, but we're running out of time here. But Tam, call back again. I'd love to have a longer conversation with you. And I appreciate you calling in, dear. Let's go to Don. Don is next up on PTL. Got about a minute for Don. Don, where are you calling from?
Okay.
From Bradley, Illinois.
All right. Bradley, Illinois. What's on your mind, Don?
I got a couple of questions. Trump's going to be reporting for his sentencing. Now, they said that he's going to be, he could get either probation or up to 4 years.
Yes.
Right.
Is that per count, or is that for total?
It is.
All of them?
It is per count. I doubt, Don, we're going to see ever Donald Trump go to jail. Better chance if he loses the presidency that he goes to jail. But I got to tell you right now, I don't think on this case he's going to go to jail. I just don't see it happening. And it's very difficult to do. I don't think it's going to happen. He's a first-time offender. So, yeah. Yep.
And what if he does go to jail? Does his Secret Service have to go with him?
It's my understanding that the Secret Service, yes, still has to be. So it would not end up, at Rikers Island or somewhere like that. He would probably end up in a secure location with Secret Service protection still, because obviously, look, it's unprecedented that we would have a former president of the United States that would be incarcerated, right, for crime. So it would be a completely unique situation. But it's my understanding, yes, as someone who's not an expert on this, that Secret Service still would be available to him. Yes.
Yeah. So thank you for the call. We appreciate you. So I haven't had the opportunity to do this today, and I know there's more people waiting on hold. Please call back tomorrow. We need some more phone lines, by the way. I also do find it funny, and I won't mention which shows do this, but there are conservative talk shows throughout the country, particularly here in Las Vegas, and you'll hear them say this 10 times an hour. The phone lines are open. Call in, please. The phone lines are open. Our phone lines haven't been open the entire show. We've had like one phone line open. So I feel pity for those people who beg for phone calls, but I appreciate all of you. It's the most interactive show, certainly here in Vegas, and we take calls from all over the country. We proved that again today with our phone calls. Really good phone calls, by the way. Even some of my MAGA friends who called in who think your name is Josh.
That's good stuff.
Yes, and I appreciate you being here, Chris. I want to give people the opportunity to go to my new website. If you like what we do here, then go to the website. We're independently owned. Support what we do. We appreciate it. Could be $5 a month, $10 a month, whatever you can afford. We appreciate. I'm not selling $400 gold sneakers. I'm not selling Brian Shapiro Bibles. Okay. But what I am asking you to do is go to my website, pushingthelimits.live. Again, that website is pushingthelimits.live, where you can check out videos. You could sign up for the newsletter and be a part of what we do over there. I don't mean to brag, Chris. Chris is going to hate what I'm about to say. Shannon Elizabeth is coming in studio tomorrow. That's going to be a lot of fun. And guess what I'm doing tomorrow night, Chris? Guess what I'm doing? I'm bringing my friend Vivica A. Fox, beautiful actress.
Yes.
And we're going to be sitting courtside at the Aces game.
There you go. I will be there. I'll be there. You know what? I'll actually meet her for the first time.
You're
probably.
not jealous
I'll
at all.
Be there.
You're not jealous at all.
No, why would I be jealous?
I don't know.
I'm not jealous.
Numchuck, do you think he's jealous? I don't know. A little bit.
Yeah.
He's shaking his head. Yes. I don't know. Shannon Elizabeth is going to be on the show.
Shannon
tomorrow.
Elizabeth is awesome.
American Pie.
Can you believe? Hey, can you believe it's been 25 years since American Pie was released? Crazy. That iconic scene with her in Jim's
I'm going to ask
bedroom.
her.
Unbelievable scene. Yes.
I'm going to ask her if Jason Biggs actually
25 years.
I'm going to ask her if Jason Biggs. Chris isn't listening to me, but I'm going to ask her if did Jason Biggs actually?
She's going to be right here in this seat.
Did Jason Biggs actually climax in that scene? No, I won't ask her that. That's inappropriate. No, she's here in all seriousness to promote a charity poker tournament that I'm honored to be involved in, raising money for charity. So the beautiful and talented Shannon Elizabeth tomorrow here, and tomorrow night, yes, I will be taking Vivica Fox, and we're going to be putting out a Joe Biden.
She'll be taking you. Let's put it that way.
I'm going to be.
She's your elder. She'll be taking you.
My
to the game.
elder. You see how
she's the reason why. Hey, let me tell you something. She's the reason why you'll be sitting courtside.
Did Numchuck just turn your mic off? I think Numchuck just cut your mic off. Wow, that was awesome.
You did? Okay.
Anyway.
Yeah, she's taking you to the game, right? She's the reason you're sitting courtside?
No, I'm picking her up. I'm the one and I'm taking her to the game. Okay. But anyway.
She's not sitting courtside because of you.
No, okay. I knew there'd have to be some form of jealousy there. I knew it. All right, thanks for joining us, everybody. Check out the website. We'll see you tomorrow. Shannon Elizabeth joining us in studio. Have a good one.
Tired of the same old date night? Craving a deeper connection with your partner?